Hey, good morning everybody. It's Brian Day with Hollis Farms. Got something a little different today. Finna get ready for a hunting trip I'm going on, and I kind of started thinking about getting my gear together. And I don't know if y'all remember back during turkey season, I had Vic Kaufman down at Black River Precision, worked on a shotgun for me, customized it, new trigger, force and cone, Cerakote, whole 9 yards. Really loved the gun, really shot well. But so I decided back in the spring to, we had a trip planned to South Africa this past summer that got canceled because of COVID-19. But I had a couple of rifles that me and the boys were taking, had some work done on them. I want to show y'all that today. Jake and Presley and I all shoot Tikka T3 rifles. They both shoot 270 Winchester short mag. I shoot a 300 short mag. All got loophole scopes on top of them, different models, but that's pretty much what we've grown up with and what we stick with. So let me get the gun camera set up here. I want to show y'all what Vic did to these guns, and I'll talk a little more about the hunt trip going on pretty soon. That's going to be coming up here pretty soon. I don't know when we'll get to run this video, but the hunt's going to be mid-October. I'm going to take the cameras out there with me. Hope to do some video into that too. So hang on, I'll be right back, get everything set up. All right, I'm gonna start by showing y'all, I'll show y'all what we did to Presley's gun, and I'll talk about the ammunition we used. We've had some, experimented with some different loads and what worked for us well in the past in Africa. And of course, most of the plains game in Africa is gonna be the same thing as a whitetail, a mule deer, elk here too, pretty relatively thin-skinned, lighter weight animals, none of the dangerous game. But anyway, the first rifle I'll show y'all here is Presley's Tikka T3 270 short mag. You see, it's the synthetic stock model with a, let's see, we've got a loophole. This is a nice scope right here. This is one I pulled off one of my guns. It is a 4.5 to 14. That's a real good range for what we're doing, hunting some of these gas lines and power lines. Sometimes you like to be able to dial up on one, and I like to be able to zoom in on one anyway, no matter where I'm hunting. But also it's good to be able to get it down on lower power, just in case you jump one or trying to get one in the scope quick. So it goes down to 4.5. That's a good, real good range. These new scopes have got a lot more range than the old 3-9s did years ago. But you'll see he's got the flip up Butler Creek scope covers on the front and the back. Those are handy, take care of your scope. But what Vic did, I hope y'all can see this, I'm gonna try to show you. What we did on this gun, we Cerakoted all the metal parts, barrel, receiver, bolt handle, everything in a olive drab green. Of course the bolts, none of that on the inside. He did some work inside the barrel. I can't remember, maybe, I don't know if he Cerakoted inside that or not. I should know that. I don't know if that's even a possibility, but anyway, did Cerakote in this green, all the barrel and the receiver. Went ahead just to kind of dress it up. You'll see Vic was able to do the green on the inlays on the stock and the pistol grip there. Real nice looking piece, kept it simple. Presley didn't want to go fancy or anything. He really liked that green. So that's what we did. The ammunition, let's see, Presley, we had good luck. Jake did in South Africa. This last time Jake went, in 2014, we all went on a big trip. We shot, out of the 270 short magnum, shot 140 grain Nosler AccuBond. We had these loaded by Superior Ammunition. They're located in, let's see, he moved. I think he's in Charleston, South Carolina now. But really like working with him. He keeps records of the bullets we use, ammunition we use. Of course, this is a standard Nosler, not a custom load for this gun or anything, but we find it works real good in this caliber. So just the white tip on it, that's the AccuBond bullet. So you know immediately that if you grab one out of your pack, the white tip is the 145 grain AccuBond. Shoot really well. Jake had real good luck with that in Africa. The first time we went, I used a 300 Win mag with a heavier Berger VLD bullet. I wasn't really happy with the penetration. I think actually we got better performance out of this bullet than out of 190 grain. It was a Berger VLD, long range gun. Great round for long range. But we had a couple of animals where I didn't think I was getting the performance I needed. Maybe it was just me. So that's what Presley's using, 140 grain Nosler AccuBond from Superior Ammunition. I'll put this in the description of the video. I got their phone number right here. I'll put it in there too, and his email and website address. Y'all can contact me if you're interested. He does a real good job. You know you're getting a consistent hand-loaded round when you get them from him. Let's see, get these put up. Lay Presley's gun down over here. This is the gun. This is my gun. I've had this 300 short Magnum for a long time. There's an interesting story behind this. I'll tell y'all in a minute, but you can see we wrapped this one in a Kuiu Vias camo wrap. Same as the 270 short synthetic stock. We went ahead and did the barrel and the receiver in a contrasting drab brown color. It looks kind of like a mud color to me. Blended real well with the Kuiu. I really like this Kuiu wrap on here. It's got good, not a shiny finish, a dull matte finish. I've got a good grip, it's not slippery. In this particular gun, I have got a loophole. Let's see, this scope, it's another 4.5 to 14. Only difference between this scope and what's on Presley's gun is this is I had a custom turret built for it by Loophole. It costs about $100 extra. You give them the ballistics of your round, they calculate everything and build you a top turret. This one also has the illuminated reticle. That's what this is right here. A little battery goes down in there like a watch battery, and you dial up the brightness of the crosshair. It's got a real fine crosshair in that. And also on this one, I put the magnetic Loophole scope covers on here. Pretty neat deal there. I need to put something on there. I don't want to flip that open and spook an animal. Put a little piece of moleskin or something on there. We got the front scope covers of Butler Creek. Anyway, the story behind this gun, I had it for several years. We were hunting on a place over in north of here. And this gun was stolen out of my truck. We were pretty sure we knew who got it. Wasn't but one house there. Actually, what happened is it snowed that day. Or that night, I can't remember what happened. It had snowed, we saw foot tracks. We knew where they were headed, where they had come from. Couldn't prove anything. We called the local law enforcement. Of course, they went and asked the people if they knew anything about the gun. They denied it. So anyway, we made a report. Well, about 3 years later, a good friend of mine that hunts that property with us drove up to the gate, and there was a truck at the gate. And we'd had problems with some other people coming in there on us before. So he called the game warden and the local deputy sheriff. They came out, they were sitting there talking. They figured out the guy that was there was not poaching. He had permission from the landowner to be there, but just coincidence while they're standing there, they hear a four-wheeler crank up at the house where we suspected 3 years prior where this gun was. Well, we'd also had trouble with these guys going around the gate on the four-wheeler, so they slipped over in the woods, waited for the guy to come through. Sure enough, came through on the four-wheeler and drove around our gate. Well, when they drove around the gate, they were able to get out in front of him, stop him. And my buddy noticed that the guy had this gun on his shoulder. Pretty easy to identify, not a lot of Tikas around. And he identified that he knew this scope and everything. So he identified it to the deputy sheriff, said, hey, I think that's a gun we filed a report on several years ago. He asked them to run it, so they called called down to the sheriff's office down there, ran the report, ran it on the serial number. Sure enough, it was my gun. So 3 years after being stolen, we knew where it was the whole time. We recovered the gun. It was pretty beat up. This cover was missing off this illuminated reticle dial. I've got to get a hold of Loophole and see if they can send me another cover. if they don't, really no big deal. I can live without the illuminated reticle. It's pretty nice late in the evening, but I can live without it. But that's the good long story behind that gun. One other thing about this gun, they had, for some reason, they must have busted the butt plate on it. And so rather than, I wanted a recoil pad on it anyway, so I went ahead and bought this Limb Saver slip-on pad. It worked real good. Covers the end of the stock there. So that's the story. It's been one of my favorite guns. I had some money invested in the scope and everything, shoot really good. Then it came up missing, and we found it 3 years later. And that's been quite a long time ago now. So really happy with the work Vic did on the gun. Really good finish. That's the only thing we've ever had camo dipped. So we've been happy with that. All right, that's the gun, and the ammo I use for this gun is 168 grain Barnes TSX. I had shot that ammo before when I had the scope built, so that was one of the advantages of dealing with superior ammo. I was able to call them up, say, hey, can you look back in my file, see what we loaded back then? That was 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Sure enough, he had it on file, so he said, yeah, I'll get some brass, I'll load you some. So we loaded a bunch to get to go to Africa. Didn't get to go, so I got plenty left. So you can see that bullet there. It's a very solid performing bullet, no lead. It's a pure copper bullet. Expands out into 4 petals. A lot of damage, a lot of penetration. So that's where we are on that. That's some good ammunition there. Again, check out Superior Ammunition if you're interested. If you got some questions about any calibers, any loads, he's a wealth of knowledge. He can help you. So that leads us to where we're going next. I'll be packing up here in the next couple of weeks. I have got a trip booked to the Medford, Oregon. I think it's Medford, or maybe it's around Roseburg. Anyway, going to southwestern Oregon to hunt for Columbia blacktail deer. Years ago, probably when I was in my late 20s, reading through some of the hunting magazines, I started reading about guys hunting these different species of deer. And I thought, man, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do a grand slam with sheep, which I'm actually close to doing. I need one more, but I never thought I'd be able to do it. But I did think getting the North American deer slam was a possibility. So, not sure when it was. It should have been either in the late 90s, maybe 98 or so, can't remember. I booked a hunt with an outfitter that's become a friend of mine on Kodiak Island. I went and hunted Sitka blacktail deer. And from there I kind of had a goal set to kill all the North American deer. Of course, I'd killed whitetail growing up. Prior to that, I had not killed any other deer, so I went and killed the Sitka blacktail, Rocky Mountain mule deer, desert mule deer. Let's see, we got whitetail, mule deer, Rocky Mountain mule deer, desert mule deer, Sitka blacktail, and Columbia blacktail. That's the 5 species. I've got 4 of the 5. I have hunted for Columbia blacktail one other time in Oregon. Didn't have a great experience. Weather was bad. Some other circumstances just didn't work out. We hunted 3 or 4 days and just had no luck at all. Weather was terrible. So going back to generally that same area, lots of deer up there. Really getting excited about it now. The weather's getting cool. But tell you what I'll do. I'll turn. I'll show y'all some of these deer and give you an idea of what the North American deer slam looks like. And hopefully, I'm gonna take all my cameras with me. Hopefully, we can document getting a kill on a Columbia blacktail in Oregon here in the next few weeks. So let me show y'all these other deer. I'll kind of show you in the order we killed them. This is a Sitka blacktail killed on Kodiak Island. Pretty good buck, a mature buck. He was a real heavy-bodied buck. That was one of my first, not my very first hunt. My first hunt I went on, I hunted mountain goat, grizzly, and elk. And you can see there, well, actually this big elk up here, I had good luck there. But anyway, back to the deer. Had the Sitka blacktail deer. This was the second species after, of course, the whitetail. And then We went to Mexico. One year I went with a friend who was on a sheep hunt. He was getting his Grand Slam. He finished with his desert sheep. Killed this big desert mule deer here, big wide guy. He's about 31 inches wide. Old buck, just an ancient deer. So that turned out to be number 3 out of the 5. Ended up making another trip a couple of years later for desert mule deer, and went with a couple of friends from here in town, and we were going to hunt Coues whitetail. If you look that up, it's C-O-U-E-S. They're a small subspecies of whitetail. Live in extreme southern Arizona. I think some in southern New Mexico, but primarily in Mexico. So on that trip, we were able to get this mule deer. He was a dandy. He was a little weak on this back split, but real good front. You can see it heavy, a beautiful buck. And on that same exact day, that morning, we killed this Coues deer. Just a 6-point, 3x3 by Western count. Great frame. Just for reference, 125 inches is Boone and Crockett for a Coues whitetail. So a really small deer. I'll show you this life size when he was he's maybe 120 pounds, and he was a really, really good deer. But had I killed both of these deer, if the other deer had been an 8-point, I would have had 2 Boone and Crockett deer within an hour. And then later that afternoon, we killed the mule deer. But I'll show you this buck. This is my first animal I ever killed that made the Boone and Crockett record books. You can tell they're really small. It's hard to get a reference without another deer beside him, but he's about the size of an average Mississippi whitetail doe, 115, 20 pounds. But you can see, and their heads are real small too. You can kind of see the size of my hand. He's pretty small, but had a real beautiful 8-point rack. Turned out to be official Boone and Crockett, and you can tell, had this one been an 8-point, he had just as big a frame almost. He probably would have been booked too. So that got me started. Of course, I've got the Rocky Mountain mule deer. Let's see, where is he? Oh, this is Rocky Mountain mule deer right here. Killed that on a trip with Jake when he was really young. He was probably about 11 years old. Went up to British Columbia, and he killed this mule deer right here. Dandy old buck. Now that's our deer. We got Coues whitetail, desert mule deer, another desert mule deer, Sitka blacktail, and hopefully soon a Columbia blacktail. Of course, back when we were doing all this hunting, weren't videoing anything. So I think we actually got one desert mule deer on film. I have no idea where that tape would be. That was back in probably the VHS tape recorders, or whatever you call them, camera, big old camera like a suitcase. But hopefully we'll get some more video. Looking forward to putting these guns to use. I'm gonna be going here pretty soon and sighting this rifle in. Probably may do that this weekend. I'll video that and show y'all how that goes too. So we appreciate y'all watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got if this is your first time to the channel or you hadn't subscribed, you create an account on YouTube. Doesn't cost anything. Click the subscribe button and then hit the bell right next to it. That means you'll get notifications anytime we post a new video. You can also check us out on Hollis Farms, our website. We put some other photographs and other stuff up there, and our merchandise. And we got Facebook and Instagram too. You can keep up with what we're doing. So we thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.